Um, I'm Gary Schneider from LinkedIn. I'm the global production systems lead for the company. My responsibilities are for the build outs of our broadcast infrastructure and part of our video production systems as well. Not related to the LinkedIn learning sites or anything like that. And I went down the path of IP a few years ago, end of 2014, when I had done a 4K live production control room and realized how much of a struggle Quadlink HD is, and wondering there has to be a better way. What's happening? And then learned about ST 2022 through a conversation or a talk that Mr. Mark Hilton from Grass Valley was giving, and that really kind of opened my eyes to some possibilities. When I came to LinkedIn, what they had come to me with was, we're doing net new builds. We had small venues for doing mostly internal events, company all hands, but also group all hands, and the need for connecting offices regionally and globally. The mandate was global interoperability between all the systems, and global monitoring and control, as well as system management. So these were the goals to design towards, and from my perspective at the time, IP was the way to do that. The benefit of building net new meant I could look at some of the emerging technology and make some critical decisions and perhaps take some chances. So in looking at how we were going to accomplish this and what were some of the real priorities, a long-term infrastructure, something that can scale with what the product is and what our workflows are going to be. So flexible and scalable infrastructure, format agnostic, SD through 4K and HDR. Where are we going to be today? Where are we going to be tomorrow? And leverage the robustness of an IP solution to be able to accommodate that over time. Support for virtualized processes, that's something is in development for us. There's a lot of work going on in this space. We're paying attention to it and how we're gonna be able to leverage it in our systems. Everything for me needed to be standards-based. Interoperability is key. I'm sure, I don't know if anybody's said that a lot, but I've certainly heard it in conversations that I've had, that nobody wants to be married to a single manufacturer. The AIMS group is a great way of getting these manufacturers together to ensure interoperability between these systems, just by meeting these standards. How they're going to actually interoperate, well, that's work in process, right, with NMOS. Technology decisions based on the product that meets our needs, the solution, not just whatever a particular manufacturer has. And our systems were still needing to be hybrid, SDI, and IP. The standards that we're working with now and putting into place are 2022-6. That is currently online at 2 of our facilities. The idea of the 2022-6, we have camera feeds that are coming into our routing systems, so the cameras are remote from the venues and in, and we did that all IP. We did that for a couple of reasons. One, we just wanted to see it, what issues we might have, and I'll talk about some of the challenges later. AES-67 was always on our roadmap, so from very early discussions, this is where we want it to be on audio. There's still a lot of development happening. I think we're just at a place where we're going to be able to implement that this year. And then ultimately, 2110, so the next 2 facilities that are coming online are a venue with a venue and control room about a quarter mile apart. And we have 5+ circuits of fiber between the 2 locations. So we're going to have switches in those locations that our components, our GV nodes, are going to connect up to, and then those 2 switches will connect via the 500 gig. And this will be a complete non-block setup, which is what I wanted. I want these 2 facilities to operate as one. have a common router control system. We can program lockouts where we need to for specific productions, but ultimately this needed to operate as a single process outside of, you know, four walls, right? Trying to think of it more, well, to think of scale, I have to think beyond walls. And then, of course, 2059, that's going to come online with the AES-67. So the first phase of the system was hybrid routing, SDI and IP. The audio, we had analog, AES-3, MADI, and Dante. We used a QSC product as kind of our bridge. Currently on the routing platform, audio goes in and out of the router via MADI, so that was a necessary component. Gateway connectivity to our network, and I mean the LinkedIn's corporate WAN, which was a challenge at first, but actually I'll talk a bit about that towards the end of the project, how important it is to be close with your IT professionals, to know the needs of the company from a security perspective and all of that, and how is this going to play across a network like that. Currently, we are doing H.264 video backhauls, full duplex. We're creating our workflows for how we're going to do these remote production of live events. We have venues out at various offices. Through that technology, we're able to send video streams back to a central control room, produce the entire show, and in fact, we are now providing the in-room experience from that same control location. So everything happens within the one space. We have remote camera control, so from our 3 control rooms online currently, we can talk to 4 different venues, and we can create the setups to have per show how, if there's going to be interaction between 2 sites, we can set up our camera control systems to grab whatever cameras we need. We've implemented IP intercoms between all of these facilities, so there's great communication between the teams. Producers out in the field, the technical director in the office or in the control room, and that's been a wonderful part. Direct virtual router control from anywhere. We have our routing, so we're a small team on the engineering side. Engineer Joshua sitting back there. We have multiple facilities that we have to manage on our own, and we've tied our systems into our network in such a way that I can log into any of my control systems if there's an issue and see what's going on, make updates to router configs, and to push those in real time and keep show flows happening. Also, from a monitoring perspective, if a card is in error, we can log in, we can see what those errors are, and we can do some troubleshooting and make some fixes in real time from wherever. We had my little story, we had a problem in Dublin. We're putting a GV node in Dublin, Ireland. They're having problems. Got a call, stopped off at a Pete's Coffee, got a coffee and some Wi-Fi, logged in, made the corrections. Everyone was ready to do the show that afternoon. So that's been a key component to what we're trying to do, is to manage all of our facilities from a central NOC, which is a kind of a future build for us. Yeah, and the management as well. So because we're a technology company, and we have a lot of great network engineers that have developed management systems for networks, we're leveraging that for some of the simple, uptime, ping, heat. All of those things are tracked within a PRTG system that's managed from our Southern California office. So the basic network side is being monitored, part of our overall global system, and then the detailed broadcast-specific components we'll be managing from our NOC in Sunnyvale. So phase 2, which is this next facility coming online, it is a spine leaf topology. It's going to be 2 network switches that our nodes will aggregate up to. It is an en-bloc architecture. We're going to be TR04 to start, stick with 2022 with some AS67 and get a good feel for how that works. You know, without all of the discovery work that's going on right now, that's not a lot of that is in place. So managing all of this is a little cumbersome, so we're just trying to take our time and take steps to kind of get us there. Add 2059 and then continue enhancements to the NOC. That's really our eye control system and how we're going to be viewing and managing and troubleshooting these systems, creating workflows specific to each of the deployments and be able to help remote support the field engineers that are out there. And then the next step for us would be bringing the phase 1 facilities, which are all 2022 only, bring that up to the standards that we're putting in phase 2 and try to get everything up and continue to work on how all of these systems are going to communicate, how we're going to manage the flows, and how we're going to route that around. This is a little diagram that kind of shows what we've done. This represents phase 1. So we have a AV control network that is really just management of all of our devices. So all the devices, how they're tied here, and then we have 10 gig up to our core. So we have direct connectivity to our core. And we work with our global network solutions team to ensure how that happens, how ACLs are configured at this level to prevent traffic from the corporate network into the AV control network, and our house security. Everybody gets involved in all of that. That's a very important point for LinkedIn. Our #1 operating priority is protecting members' data. You are all hopefully members of LinkedIn, and this is all about making sure that your data doesn't get out there. So this is taken very, very seriously on how that's done. So San Francisco was the first to come online. The Pastoria facility was the second. Lessons learned, rolling forward. Unify is online. This is kind of the second gen of how our systems are. This is a venue only. We have a very small control room. We have events that we classify from full productions all the way to do it yourself. We are in a corporate environment. We are in an office building. People want to do big video conferencing with other groups around the world. So we don't need, our media ops team does not need to be covering all of these shows. So we build some control systems in to enable those different levels of operation in actually all of these. Pastoria is our video production facility, so there is no venue. It is just a shoot stage. So where we are right now, actually right now, Alan left, the racks are moving into place right now for this side of this project. So each one of these would operate on their own. As we develop how the media network is going to operate and do our testing and start getting our confidence up that the overall routing system is going to work properly, until that happens, we can continue to do H.264 video backhaul to any of the control rooms. And so our global all hands is handled this way now. We have done an event from EMEA this way. As long as it's not bi-directional from those long hauls, it seems to work just fine. Any questions about? No? So current benefits, I had an updated slide in here. One of the big benefits for us within our environment is a lot of the larger productions involve video conferencing technology. That's how buildings are linked in. Sorry, I just fell into that. And from an operational perspective, it's really difficult because you have multiple endpoints that are joining a bridge call. And then all of your control of what video is being shown on what screens at all of these different venues it's actually taking 2 bridge operators to make all of that happen. And now you're just dealing with the quality of video conferencing versus what we can do with these new standards. So one of the benefits and what we're trying to work towards is to eliminate VC on large venues for those shows where it's high production value shows. Looking at shared resources, I'm going to jump to shared resources. I try to view all of the systems as part of a larger system. I don't have 2 playouts here and 2 playouts and 2 playouts. I have 6 playouts. And if I have issues or problems with one, I need to use the others as a resource. And as long as it's not getting into some live situation where latency really becomes an issue, we have the ability to do that. And where we're at today versus where I see this being in a couple of years, I feel confident that we're tracking the right direction. We're headed the right way. There are a lot of bugs, and we're working them out. The challenges, system timing, I think that's been talked about quite a bit. We're pulling in local gateways, meaning cameras that are within a venue into a routing system, remote gateways, pulling video across the network, local bi-levels. We have our, as you might have seen in the diagram, we have sync generators in each location. They're all set to GPS. For the San Francisco and the Pastoria facilities, they'll get a common stamp that we can use to do some alignment of our streams, but once they come in and they're gen locked locally, there's latencies. We see that. So we've created some systems on the bi-level side to be able to normalize our systems and get the timing right. I've seen as much as 7 lines of latency coming through even a local gateway, which you can see in a key. And so we've had to make some adjustments there. And then IMAG for live. Chuck Meyer has a lot to say about that, about perception and so forth. So maybe he'll be talking about that around here sometime. But he has a lot of things to say about that. So I wanted to throw out a couple of special thanks and make a point that I kind of implied to earlier. David Zimmerman of LinkedIn Global Network Solutions has been my partner in this from day one. Going to him because he's the man responsible for our enterprise WAN. And if I'm going to be putting a bunch of video on it, if I'm going to mark QoS, if it's going to be multicast, what flavor of multicast, all of these details that are very important to a network engineer in our environment, he had to be at the table and has been. Been a lot of the meetings. Unfortunately, he's not here. David Carroll of David Carroll Associates and his entire team, they are our integration partners and design team that have worked on this. Kevin Gross from AVA Networks has been our media network consultant. Some of you may know Kevin, and I think he's working as a, I don't know what you call it, a docent here. He's a great guy to talk to. And then the entire Grass Valley team, having frank, direct, deep conversations and understanding of what our visions are and how we can get to where we want to go. So, unless there's any questions, that's all I had. Thank you very much.